Hello Internet, it's Callum here. I'm a painter here at Wargames Illustrated, and with me is the lovely project manager, James.
Lovely.
Lovely project manager.
Sure about
you
that?
are. I'm certain. I'm sticking with it. It's on camera, so it's legit.
It's official.
Today I brought with me, an interesting collection. I collect Ultramarines in my free time, and these have been, I've collected them thankfully for the entire time I've painted, so it's a really interesting progression in the development. And I think a lot of people ask me, when I'm out and about at shows and stuff, and some of my friends as well, you know, I'd like to paint. How did you get to your level? And it is just a case of practice and development. And so I thought it'd be really interesting for people to see where I started, the midpoint, and where I'm at right now, because I don't obviously get to show a lot of this on Wargames Illustrated. So.
Yeah.
So I think we should dive right in.
Yes. So this chap was 13 years ago.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
It's crazy when you put it in that kind of...
Considering I started at 9 and I'm now 41, it's not that long, dude.
Oh, wow,
but,
yeah.
But there was internet when this happened, so you just...
There was. I just ignored it, I guess.
Just ignored it, yeah. We all have to start somewhere.
That's why I'd like to show it off.
Yeah, so from there, where are we going next?
So the next model in my journey is probably the Captain Titus, lovingly rendered on a moving balcony. People always used to joke when I play him that he dragged the stairs along with him.
Yes, so
that's one of the Warhammer 40,000 hero bases.
This is a drastically improved effort. I'm guessing a few years.
So I think I was 16 years old when I did that. So
okay.
17. I was a bit older.
Right.
I kind of hid my hobby throughout my comprehensive years for fear of being bullied.
Oh, that's a shame.
It is. And again, I think the hobby's in a different place now. I've seen so many Warhammer clubs in schools, and it's really nice, and I think you lucky buggers. No.
Yeah, for
But it's
sure.
great, and it's awesome. So this was pretty much, I was just about to go to university, and I thought I'd just try again. I'd converted this model a long time ago. He's made up of all sorts of bits. In fact, I think he's the most expensive model I own in terms of conversion pieces.
What's changed in terms of your progression of painting? Obviously, it's visually very different, but what have you really
So I learned how to thin paint. I'm still not at wet palette level yet, but I knew that you thin paint with water on I had an artist palette from the works, I think. And I'd also worked out that you should use some fine brushes to start doing some detail. I think there's some weathering pigments that I'd used on there for some of the rust and that, and there's some blood for the blood god. But beyond that, it's still very basic level. I still thought highlights, again, I was starting to research this and see more, but I thought highlights were 1 or 2 lines. I didn't realise it was a blend of several. I didn't really consider some points should be brighter than others. I did the same highlight across the entire model, so it almost has a comic effect to it.
It does, and that's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's some people's style. Heavy metal is not necessarily that. There's still some light value to it, but for the most part, a lot is highlighted with a Space Marine.
I think one thing's clear here, which is brush control.
I'd worked a lot. I think I got finally like a proper lamp. Because originally I was painting from the windowsill. I was using the natural, so I could only paint during the day.
Right.
When it became night, my painting adventures were cut short. So with this one, I had a proper light, so I could see what I was doing. I probably had the right prescription of glasses as well, so I could actually see where the brush was going.
The thing is, like, just looking at this, I've never painted lines as refined and clean as this, and I think this, to me, indicates that your trajectory was very clearly going to work on an heavy metal style.
I appreciate that, thank you.
My painting style would never suit that, and it's about you found
finding,
your route.
Yeah, I'd wanted to do this for a very long time. You know, everyone looks at the box art, but I found that I could brace my hands quite neatly together, and it not natural, but it seemed that progression. I could see it. You're right. I could see that. I could see that highlight line going ahead in front of me.
So you did this. Then you went to university, and obviously while you were at university, every night you were staying in, painting figures, not going out or having fun.
And not having social
like
life. No, I didn't meet my partner, with none of that. I just painted the whole time.
Yeah, so this was a week later.
Yeah, we're obviously being sarcastic. This is a couple of years into my university life. At this point, this was really the start of my professional journey. So it had been a hobby up until this point. This was my first application to the heavy metal studio, actually, this. And so I really wanted to so it was freehand. It's really the first freehand I'd done. So a lot of the previous model, the Captain Titus model, was transfers, decals, whereas this one I wanted to really lean on the freehand. I still had some crutches, so the Ultramarine U in the centre of the banner and on the shoulder pad, wasn't confident enough to try those. But the Ultramar, the text on there, I practiced that first using pen on paper and got the motions down. I sketched because I was terrified at this point of approaching it. But I was looking at it now, again, there's areas I'd improve, but it was really I think there are key moments in your painting career, and this one was one of them for me. It kind of, I realised I could do it, and I would like to do it properly.
So how long did this take you to paint?
I'd probably say about 12 hours maybe.
Okay.
And that was a lot of umming and ahhing and practising that banner before I went in and being terrified. In fact, I'd actually probably lean towards more 15 hours, I think. There was a lot of times where I would just be sitting there with the brush ready and just psyching myself up to actually touch it to the model.
Yes, and you didn't get the job at Heavy Metal with
I did
this.
not.
Did you get feedback though?
No, Games Workshop do not offer feedback on their job applications.
Right.
But I would like to point out I'm very happy I didn't, because I wouldn't be here if I did.
Oh, isn't he a sweetie?
He's paying me for that.
All right, so we're going from one Smurf to another
Smurf.
Now, this one's got, even I quite like this, and I'm not a big fan of blue Space Marine.
This was when I really, so that's typical Heavy Metal style, the previous one. This one was when I started to find my own style. So I've been commission painting for probably about 2 years when I did this one. It's about a year ago, maybe a bit longer, actually. In fact, if you look on my Instagram, you'll probably see exactly when I posted it, you'll know then. But it was working panel shading. I wanted a bit more contrast on the flat panels. And I was thinking about what the sharpest point should be, so the highlight levels are different, so that it looks like the model. There's some freehand on the back with some glazing to get, different levels. And I was actually really happy with the desaturated red gun. I wanted kind of the depth on that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot more volume in the figure because you've transitioned rather than just having those flat
Exactly, and the Gravis armor is really great for that because it's huge hulking panels that you can really play about with. But
yeah.
This was again another big step for me. This was just, I don't think I'd been hired yet when I did this, but it was around that time. So I was getting to another point in my life where I was becoming a true professional. It was becoming most of my income.
Sure.
So when I did this one again, it was that it clicked for me. I could see it. It was also more thoughts on composition. So we've contrasted the blue with a dark reddy brown on the panels, which again with a desaturated red, so it doesn't quite pull away from the blue, but it ties it together. It's that contrast between the two. It doesn't quite, I wanted to harken back to the old second edition classic bright red bolters, which are violently horrendous in a colour scheme. But on this, I thought it worked quite nicely because it didn't pull the eye too much from the blue.
Sure.
And now we come to the most recent model. So there is lots of freehand on this, lots of small details. It's really the first time I've done white stripes on a fully painted helmet because, again, it's that fear factor, and I want this to be as a lesson is don't be afraid, do it. I wish I'd done this years ago. I would have been so much further than where I am now. But a lot of it was trying to get, so there's lots of texture painted on the robes. So you'll see if we zoom in on that detail that it's painted in lines to create a volume of texture. There's on the art, the metallics, it's the first time I've done true metallic metals with a glaze across to create that depth to it, to make it look a bit aged because this would be a relic set of armour. There's just lots more details that again are another level. It would probably to the untrained eye look very similar to the previous model, but I know that there are so many steps above that have gone into this one. And I hope it's noticeable on the blue cloth, the highlights. They're very conscious of what would catch the light. It's not all one same highlight. It's very focused to the points and the tips. The freehand itself is quite difficult because it's curving, and it's also going across folds and down, over the big fold of the sword. And then it's got micro texture of little rips and tears and scratches in that. I'm really happy with this model. Again, I think I would do better now, but it's a case of finding the time to dedicate 12 hours to a full model.
So there is one area in particular for me that stands out where I'm like, I don't know if Callum would paint it the same now as he did when he did it.
Okay.
And it's this metallic areas here.
Yeah.
The placement of the light and the shade on those.
And why that is because I painted it in sub-assemblies. So when I held it, it was top down. When I applied to the model, the shadow should be bottom left, whereas it's just bottom.
I feel like I now understand why you obsessively make sure you record which way up the shields need to be on figures if you're painting them separately.
You will see in an upcoming article, I made sure to have an arrow pointing up so I knew which way was up, because it happens a lot when you do sub-assemblies, and sometimes it's essential to get in a really refined paint scheme, but you then do suffer the fact that sometimes your composition suffers because it's not all one unified piece, it's lots of little pieces. So I think it's worth gluing it together and then also touching it up, not calling it done.
Sure.
I should, and in fact I will, in future go back and do stuff like that,
Yeah, because I mean, you're now left with lots of Ultramarines. There's other ones that we're showing throughout this video too, but they're all to different standards and different levels.
And it infuriates me personally, but perhaps it was not too much of a. I like having them because it shows where I've been and how, where I'm going, and I love that. But trying to field a unified army with Ultramarines is a bit of a nightmare at the moment.
Sure. So some great looking Smurfs.
Oh, thank you.
You are moving away from Smurfs potentially.
I think I am, in terms of, I really enjoy them for the one character, the one-offs, the really big sculpts. I think it's always nice to try and match box art, to test what you can do.
Yes.
But I think in terms of full armies, I think, there's a certain Horus Heresy box from this small indie company that's coming out.
Yeah, Nottingham Upstart.
I think, something, it's based around there, I think.
James Workshop, I think they're called?
James Workshop,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure I read that. But Sons of Horus is now their box art.
Yes.
However, I think with the new airbrush capabilities offered to me, I think a nice little underspray, some nice beautiful green on top, I think we can get some really visually striking models there.
Okay.
Quite quick and easy. And I'd be able to actually, maybe half the box, so I could do half Sons of Horus, maybe half Ultramarines. Maybe I'll find a cut down method for them. Eventually I'll figure it out.
We'll see what we can do, see if we can get you with airbrush and plastics and maybe come back with a video showing you progress on them.
But to do that, I think you might have to like and subscribe this video. You might have to.
Well, I already will.
You will. I'm going to. I'm telling you guys over there.
Okay.
I think you need to like and subscribe and let us know if you'd like to see that, if you'd like to see me paint some of them.
Yeah, and if you don't like Space Marines or indeed don't like Smurfs, make sure you tell Callum that he's chosen a poor chapter.
Personally. Message
Should have
me
gone for
personally.
Dark Angels.
No mercy, no respite!
This video has been brought to you by WiPrime, Wargames Illustrated magazine's online members club. View more videos or find out more about WiPrime by following these links.